7 years ago, I met Zach Harrison. We quickly became friends, and I immediately recognized Zach's passion for adventure and creativity. 2 years ago, he told me that he was helping to start a company that would deliver organic and local produce. He said the company would give people healthy food options, but more than that, it would be a way to show love and support to local farmers and their communities. He introduced me to his business partner, Philip Knight, who had originally brought Zach onto the project. Philip had a successful career as a banker, but he gave up a solid paycheck and security for the purpose of doing something that would be internally impactful. Philip and Zach soon hired Philip's longtime friend, David Melton. David was brought on to help market Fresh Harvest, but soon became a jack of all trades. Like Philip and Zach, David has a passion to do something more than just work 40 hours a week. They each want to make a positive impact on their community. So in the spring of 2014, the guys told me that they were going on a 3-day camping trip to visit these farmers and to learn more about why they farm organically.
I've got a drop cloth. We got a lot of stuff, and we're trying to figure out how to get it all in the back of this really small hatch area here. I'm telling David he's got to put a few things back. He had like 4 pairs of shoes. 1 per person.
Philip's got to find somebody to pick on because he's never been camping before.
That's true. That's true. I will be 31 in about 2 months and I've never been camping before.
Our first stop was Rise and Shine Farm in Calhoun, Georgia, which is run by Mitch Lawson. After growing up in Toccoa, Georgia, Mitch became involved in river advocacy and was the director of Coosa River Basin Initiative in Rome, Georgia. It wasn't long after his time with Coosa that he learned that he loved to farm, and he wanted to transfer his knowledge and passion of river advocacy to organic farming.
Well, when I got into farming, I knew that I was either going to farm organically or wasn't going to farm at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just the only way I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from a river advocacy and environmental background, I know what happens to ecosystems, especially aquatic ecosystems, with harmful pesticide and herbicide runoff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to contribute to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of all the things they spray on there, and it's actually, they're finding it in your body after you eat it. You know, it can't wash off. It's the stuff you just can't wash off. It's inside the fruit.
Yeah.
And so I just think, you know, conventional agriculture and chemical agriculture, you know, I just think a lot of that stuff is just not going to be good for your body.
Yeah. So this is Mitch's delectable strawberries. So kind of how it works is it starts out really small, and then the middle of this flower, as it grows, progresses, the petals fall off. You can kind of tell how it's doing it over here. As it's getting bigger, obviously it starts to take its strawberry shape, and then you start seeing where the seeds on the outside. And then as they get bigger, they become your regular red strawberry. Utah, did you see that?
I took us about 15 minutes in the wrong direction, so that's my bad. So we're probably about 10-15 minutes out still. So I guess where we need to hold on until you get there. Sounds good. Alright, we'll see you in just a little bit.
We are at Double B Farms. They have a bunch of chickens and pigs and the eggs that we carry all the time. Nick and Jesse, they're heading up here to show us around.
During the tour of Double B Farm, I quickly learned what the term pasture raised means. Chickens and pigs were everywhere. We found a place to camp for the night, and the pigs couldn't help but show us some southern hospitality by paying us a visit. While showing us around, Jesse explained that all he wanted was to farm the right way. And as the sun began to set with chickens and pigs and goats roaming throughout the farm, I thought to myself, this feels like land that is being farmed the right way. After dinner, Nick stopped by to tell us a little bit about why he and Jesse farm the way that they do. About 8 years ago, Nick wasn't too worried about how his livestock was raised and fed, and then tragedy struck his family that caused him to rethink how he was farming.
Minerals, and I was feeding them that and didn't care. And then 5 years ago, February, that was when my mom, she passed away. Well, she had cancer for 3 years before that, and so about the second year that we was farming is when she got cancer. And so I started looking. I thought, well, me and my brother, we might need to watch what we're eating and where it's coming from. And so that's when I started studying up of how the animals are supposed to be raised the right way.
Nick spent the next 11 months studying how to humanely and naturally raise livestock. Nick changed his lifestyle as well as his farming style and took what was a hobby of farming and turned it into a full-time occupation. Nick has a passion for farming as well as a passion for helping people learn the importance of knowing how their food was grown and how their food was raised.
Not only are we out there trying to make a living off of, feeding people the right food, good food, it's our job to educate them.
Yep.
And to teach them why we're doing what we do. I'm worried about what that animal was eating also, not just the way it was handled, or what they put in the food or the meat. I'd rather put my money in my food instead of in my doctor. You're going to pay for it eventually. And we'll be sitting in Sunday school and say, oh, yeah, I got headaches and I got this and that, and I'm like, what'd you eat?
Too bad if you got over the bullfrogs and the squealing of the pigs, but today we are going to make some breakfast and we're going to go down to Gary Shaw's farm in Carlton, Georgia. Gary does strawberries and kohlrabi and lettuce and a bunch of different stuff.
Gary and his wife are the 6th generation to farm this land at Hickory Hills. Their daughter and son-in-law will soon join them to become the 7th generation of their family to do so.
This is my wife's family home place. It was settled here in the 1700s. Her great-grandfather built the house in 1911. But then about 5 or 6 years ago, we decided we want to take this little venture into farming. I mean, there's a lot of enjoyment working for yourself. The freedom that comes with that, making decisions. So I enjoy that. I mean, a crop succeed, or you plant it and you see it grow and follow it through to harvest. So I enjoy that.
What we found out is that Gary is more than a farmer. His Christian faith is leading him to use his farm for more than just selling produce.
We eventually want to build cabins, so when families or someone is struggling, they'd have a place to come. If working on the farm worked out, if we could help that way also, then we would. And we want to be able to supply, some employment for people. There's enough of doctrine and knowledge spoken of, and not enough experience, the taste and see. And I think that's what we need more of. Experience of God's goodness. living in it.
We made our way to Monetta, South Carolina to Watsonia Farms. Watsonia is a 2,500-acre farm run by the Watson brothers, Jerry and Joe, and Jerry's son, Jeff. Jeff is the fourth generation of the Watsons to farm this land. So we all piled into Jerry's truck, and he gave us a tour of the 2,500-acre farm. In the past few years, the Watsons have been transitioning some of their land to organic farming.
Really like the organic, yeah. Really like it. It's been growing every year. Every year we add something new.
Other farmers spoke very highly of the Watson brothers for their unique gift of being able to grow organic peaches in their climate.
So we offer organic peaches. Organic strawberries and organic peaches are two of the hardest things to grow organic.
So these are some Watsonia peach trees. I think they grow 30 different varieties, and so these are a late season variety. So as you can see, they're still not ripe. Jerry and Joe are the Watsonia brothers, and so they are, a lot of people consider them sort of magicians of the trade. They're one of the few to actually be able to grow tree fruit up in here pretty well. And so they were talking about the difficulties, all the stuff that it takes to really get peaches, any kind of tree fruit, to grow around here without getting all beat up and to where you can't get any kind of good yield from it. So this stuff tastes delicious. We've been carrying their stuff for a good while, and good people too.
Two things were immediately clear about the Watson family. They worked incredibly hard, and they were incredibly hospitable. At the end of the day, they took us to a pond that was just outside one of their peach orchards so we could camp. They also surprised us with fishing gear and rowboats so we could spend the evening on the water. Although we were camping outside in South Carolina, the Watson family made sure that at least for that night, we felt as if we were home.
Hooked us up with their breakfast here. So they have rolled out the red carpet for us. So yeah, we're about to go eat some free breakfast.
So then our trip came to a close as we visited our final farm, which is owned and operated by Dr. Roland Nash. Years ago, Roland bought the land from his mother-in-law and tried his hand out at farming. Although Roland is a full-time physician, you will just as often find him farming the land behind his home. It was fitting that Roland Nash was our last stop. Without even meaning to, Roland summed up a theme that had run throughout the entire trip. That is that growing locally and organically is not only good for the individual, but good for the entire community.
So on a macro scale, you know, if the supply chain gets longer, it's more prone to problems, you know, with natural disaster and things like that. And so I'm always thinking in terms of, you know, what happens when people don't get fed, they act badly. And number one, I don't want my food to be controlled by a few people. I think that's dangerous. But number two, you know, then you don't know what they're doing. You know, you don't really know how that food's being grown. If there is some, you know, manipulation being done that's not good for you. Well, I think there needs to be more family farms, organics, a way for that to happen.
Roland explained that his goal is to shorten the distance between the farmer and the consumer. His attitude is shared by each of the farmers that we visited. Each of these farmers care deeply for their community and take special care in the food that they produce. During this trip, I was able to see how Philip and Zach and David use their company to make the same impact on their community as these farmers do. Like Fresh Harvest, these farmers want to change their community for the better. Growing and delivering organic produce is one way of achieving that goal. So I left this trip inspired to continue to support local farmers and continue to share good food.